Well, and here's the thing: they're going to tote this like it's some kind of victory.
They did.
To me, anything under 25 million anymore is a flop.
Well,
This is real.
It's a soft start. Yeah.
It's definitely more than a soft start. The only thing that's keeping this thing from being an out and out flop is that it only cost 50 million to make.
But it's unbelievable.
Let's be real.
It's unbelievable, Tom. You mentioned that. Like, do you remember when like movies at the box office, like it made 80 or 100 million in a weekend, or like Endgame, it was like 200 million in one weekend, or like The Fastest to a Billion? Do you notice you don't get any of those stories now? The box office is like the number one at the box office made 19 million. I mean, it's pathetic.
Well, that's the new flop range, right? Like, at least it has been since those movies that you're talking about. If a big tentpole film can't open anywhere within the 50 million range, it's technically a failure.
Yeah, I mean, wouldn't consider this movie a tentpole film. I mean, 50 million.
But 50 is kind of encroaching that in the way they're trying to treat this in total. It's not like what we were just talking about. There's no way it can sustain itself to make that much money back. Like next weekend, it's dropping down to easily between 10 and 7 million. Right. I guarantee it. And at that point, the movie's dead. Because when we were, you go back 20 years, if a movie would open like say at 5 to 10 million, that was considered a flop. You got to remember that. So that's where we're at now. We're this many years ahead. So like, you're right. You have to, even a sub level movie like this, or whatever you want to call it, a B-level movie or whatever. I don't even know what the proper terminology would be anymore, because it's mid-level movie, I guess would be the terminology. Yeah. Even that, it has to open with 25 million or more to be, there's no way it's going to hit that, because it has to make over $100 million to be profitable. That's the thing. Like, this is one of those rare occasions where doubling the money might bring back the money, because the money behind it, as far as advertising, isn't nearly what they would put behind a superhero movie, for instance, like you were just talking. That's the big difference there. So this is a good move for them as far as like getting a bunch of controversy around it, but I don't think it's going to sustain the movie, unfortunately. I think that's the bigger issue here is, sure, you've managed to finally get a movie to benefit from the fan baiting model, but what is that going to cost you in the end? It's going to cost you any success this movie may have had, I guess. I don't know. I don't really see a world where this movie was successful regardless, because it is just trying to ride the coattails of Black Panther, like I said, Chris. I guarantee you that's the way this movie was pitched to the studio.
Maybe, I'm not sure. I just we've never seen something like this. I mean, when I first saw the trailer, I thought, well, this looks like a blaxploitation movie from the 70s. I mean, it really kind of had that vibe.
I don't know. I got the Black Panther vibe.
I would have watched the hell out of it if it was that.
Yeah, but it's just like, and
if
you're
it
right.
If it had unapologetically been that, if it had been like a blaxploitation alternate history in the
Tarantino style,
yeah, Tarantino style, I'd watch the hell out of it. But this isn't, and that's my issue with it.
So, I haven't been able to grab any numbers on this, but I would estimate this had a pretty good marketing push on the back end of this film, in addition to all the free media it got.
Right.
I didn't really see a whole lot, so I can't comment on that. But I unless there's really much more we can say on this for now, until next weekend's box office comes in, we'll just have to wait and see how the controversy either helped or hurt this film, I guess, in the end.
Well, there's not much coming out this weekend.
Not really, no.
God, it's like slim pickings at the movies.
I wish Slim Pickens was actually in the movie still, Chris.
And yes, Lupita Nyong'o was actually supposed to play Viola Davis's daughter in the film, and she dropped out. She didn't really, I don't know that she ever gave a reason, but she ended up being involved in a documentary about Black slave traders, and
maybe.
And so she was a part of that, so maybe that had something to do with it. She never directly said, she just quietly dropped out. So there you go. So
I guess Mikey said they did put a big push behind it, so you could be right, Culture. So in that case, then they got it. Then that means they would have had to have made 150 to cover this movie's ass. Right. Because there's no way digital's covering this movie's ass.
In fact, I just know that this thing was in the previews before Top Gun, right? The second time that I saw Top Gun. This thing was in front of Bullet Train. This thing was in front of every Sony release in the theaters, like since Top Gun came out. So I'm starting to feel like, I'm starting to feel like we're gonna, we're gonna have to find out what the marketing budget was somehow, or at least try to bring those numbers out, because I think this thing could be more of a financial disaster than anybody's going to want to talk about.
Can I talk about this super chat real quick?
I just brought it up for this reason because I thought it was very actually pretty topical for this topic. Go ahead, Chris.
Double back again. Thank you for being a member for $2 there. Woman King Northman comparison appropriate? No, I think they're not. I think they're not really comparable, only in the sense that both involve slaves, because in the Northman, of course, he's a slave.
Yeah, absolutely. And no one has ever denied, like you will never find any kind of denials in the Nordics that the Vikings, they took slaves. They took slaves among themselves, like a Norwegian would take other weaker Norwegian as a slave, and a Norwegian would certainly go to the Baltics and take Baltic people as slaves. And as some people like to point out, like how attractive women you have in the Nordics, well, the Vikings only brought back the best, and they didn't bring them willingly.
Well, and I think just in the general of like, I don't think the Northman is ever pretending to be that historically accurate.
That's
the
other thing as well, because the story itself, the story of Hamlet, this is actually from the Icelandic sagas, so you have a written record. So at some point in history, events something like that would have happened. Of course, it's been shrouded by myth and everything like that for God knows how long. I mean, the original root story could be.
That's what I mean. The movie's even presented almost like not a fairy tale, but what's mythological story. Yeah.
But in the presentation, this is what I really appreciate about the Northman, is that it was entirely authentic in everything, from clothing to the practicing of faith, to how brutal the berserker, if you want to be more accurate, the Ulfhednar were, and how they went and they caught slaves. All of this was entirely accurate. And also, while it was implied, it's something that you had to guess because of how like spaced out the movie was. Well, the lead characters was high on shrooms half the movie. All of this
Northman was amazing,
accurate.
Actually.
Yeah. So no, I don't think that again, I haven't seen The Woman King, but based on what I have heard, comparisons are not valid, because the Northman strives authenticity and everything, and there's nothing insidious about it. It doesn't deny anything.
He actually clarifies here down the way. I meant box office performance.
Unfortunately, that's a different matter.
The other problem with the Northman is the Northman cost almost twice as fucking much.
Way expensive.
That was another big problem.
Yeah, it was like 90 million or something. Oh, by the way, the biggest movie opening this weekend is Don't Worry, Darling by Olivia Wilde.
At least it wasn't Clerks 3.
And Harry Styles.
Oh, it is getting universally panned by audiences.
I'm seeing it later tonight. So I'll talk about
I'll be interested. Yeah, I've been catching you and